Hello, a very good evening. My name is Shreya, and I welcome you to the Dare Act Conversation series powered by the Grey Matter. Our guest joining today is Rishabh Chopra. He is a corporate lawyer turned law firm management consultant. Rishabh is currently working as a joint partner in the managing partner's office at Lakshmikumaran and Sridharan. So let's invite him live and hear about his journey from the practice of law to the business of law. Hi, Rishabh. How are
Hi,
you
Shreya.
doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Very well. Welcome to Dare. So happy to have you with us today.
I'm super excited as well. I've seen some previous conversations that you've had with people, and I can't wait to get started.
Awesome. So my first question to you is from pursuing economic honors to graduating with a degree of LLB, what's your story?
Wow. So now a lot of people would actually know that I actually went to University of Delhi for 1 year. Everyone thought probably I went directly from school to law school. But yeah, I always wanted to do economics in my undergrad, and I went to one of the prestigious colleges at the University of Delhi. Uh, Now, I come from a family of lawyers. My father's a lawyer, my both sisters are lawyers, my brother-in-law is a lawyer. So you know how it is when you're a kid, right? Everyone starts telling you that, oh, your father's a lawyer, you will be a lawyer. That mentality I really wanted to change, and I wasn't super happy with it. So what I decided was I'll be anything but a lawyer. Now, things are very different now. But that's when I decided that probably I'll pursue economics. I'll do an MBA after that, or either I'll join the Indian Economic Services. Now, interestingly, what happened was my sister back then used to be a lawyer at Anand and Anand. And Anand Anand used to do this prestigious moot called the Raj Anand Moot. And she was like, we're organizing it. Why don't you come over and see that as an audience? I was like, cool, let me just come and see it. And when I saw it, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. So I think I went to law school only to do moots because that was something which really, really fascinated me. And I was like, I don't want to miss this opportunity. Interestingly, because my dad was always keen on me doing law after school, he made me write the law school exam after my grade 12th as well. I had cracked NLU Jodhpur around that time as well, but I decided that probably I'll go to DU. And I wrote the law school exams again, got through NLU Jodhpur, and super grateful that things did work out well.
Fantastic. And it's amazing how, a shift in perception can actually make you come back to the first thing that you didn't want to do. What an amazing
Absolutely. I
story.
used to hate the thought of saying, like, to be lawyer, but like, no, I'm not going to be a lawyer.
Thank you for sharing that. So tell us, how were your 5 years at law school and what did you learn about yourself from that experience?
Um, Law school was just an amazing journey. I think those 5 years were just super amazing. Now, as a person, I'm someone who likes to be engaged and I like to be occupied. So I would never really sit idle unless there was nothing to do, particularly as far as any activities were concerned in law school, which wasn't really the case because you were either super swamped with your classroom activities like presentations or projects or your moot courts, or you could actually be involved in various cultural activities. The only thing probably which I wasn't particularly interested were the classes. So although I used to be extremely, extremely active in the other spheres like moods, paper presentations, projects, people probably my mother's going to hate me because she's a teacher herself and retired like 10 years ago. I used to sleep in the classes as well when I used to find certain lectures boring. So, and it's fine. I think it's absolutely fine because law school ensures that you start analyzing things on your own. You start reading a lot of things on your own. Obviously, whenever you need certain sort of help from a faculty, you're always good to go and reach out to them. But having said that, I think I enjoyed doing every single activity which law school particularly had to offer. So from moot courts, which I did from my first year itself till the final year. And interestingly, no one really moots in their final year because you're already placed by your fourth year. And even if you're looking for a placement in the final year, you really want to relax and you really want to have a good time in law school. I was like, those 5 years are not going to come back. I want to do as much mooting as possible. So in my final year as well, we did a moot. We won that moot. Represented India at one of the prestigious international moots in Europe. Did reasonably well there. Was one of the youngest people to go to the Wiz Moot in Hong Kong in my second year. So mooting was definitely very, very interesting for me. Did a lot of projects and did a lot of paper presentations as well. Actually won a Best Speaker award at LSR for a paper as well. So whenever there was an opportunity, I would just take it like, yes, let's do it. So from first year, I was part of the moot court activity, then moved to the hostel management committee, which would typically not really do much except for checking random things. But in my final year, I was fortunate to become the convener of the cultural committee, and I was also the convener of the Center for Environment Protection. So there were two roles which I was following, and there were obviously in your final year, you definitely have a lot of time to spare for those activities. So we had a great, great time in law school. Apart from that, I was also the teaching assistant for the first year kids. So I taught them law of torts along with the faculty of law. But I think that sort of passion comes from my mother because I really enjoy teaching. So even while we used to study the night before the exams, for law students who are probably listening to me, you're not supposed to read the law just the night before. Please study the entire year whatsoever. But yeah, the trick was that I would study just a day before, and in the morning I would just wake everyone on the floor and read the entire thing again. A, I had a great revision because of that, and B, I really enjoyed talking to people and ensuring that they are learning certain things which I'm talking about. So law school as a journey from mooting to paper presentations to making such amazing friends, not just from my batch, but a lot of people from my senior batches and junior batches. I've been fortunate to have such strong friends that I can never really be more grateful to have having gone to NLU Jodhpur.
Fantastic. So, team management is what I hear. Teaching is another thing which kind of came out from the conversation, and you're more like a people's person, which is fairly obvious after listening to you in the last 5 minutes. Very, very sweet of you to share your journey, and I could actually visualize, that you were going back in those times and actually taking out snippets from that experience. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
it was just beautiful. I used to walk through the entire college, and thankfully back then I was a bit more lean, so that sort of helped the walk every day. Now you can't really do it every single day, and that's why you see that different version of Rishabh now.
So, you joined the corporate team of the erstwhile Amarchand after graduation, and you got the opportunity to work at their Bombay and Delhi office. Tell us, how was that experience for you?
I think it was just a beautiful experience. A lot of people crib about that, hey, Amarchand's just going to be a factory for you. People just come in and go out. But the kind of work that the firm does is just top notch. So I'll just probably go a bit backwards and talk about how I got into Amarchand. Right. So during the placement season, I was very clear that I would not go to Bombay. So I'd already rejected a couple of offers from top tier firms in Bombay, and I was really looking forward to Amarchand coming in. And then Amarchand came in, and they only hired for the Delhi office. And unfortunately, they didn't interview anyone except for the top five students. I was definitely not in that list. So I was really dejected. Thankfully, I had another spare offer from a corporate house, which I sort of had accepted. But I was like, let me give it a shot. I know that I am suitable for Amarchand. I need to write into the right people. I need to get a chance. And thankfully, I wrote in and I got the questionnaire, I got the interview process started for myself. And there I was. Though I never really wanted to work in Bombay, but for Amarchand, I was like, yeah, it's just a fantastic place and I want to be there. So let's just go. Now, obviously, because of personal issues, I decided that I'll move back to Delhi. And Delhi office was just a blast. Like, I would speak to like most of the people at the firm, and Amarchand is a big firm. So it's not like you just have 10, 20 odd people and you're just making connections with them. But I would just take a break every 45 minutes, go on the ground floor, first floor, talk to people, talk about what's happening, regular issues, politics, and I would take those breaks. So when people talk about that, hey, law firm culture is toxic, it's really it gets you into a fatigue mode. It never really gives you that peace of mind. I know where they're coming from, But there's a different perspective as well, right? You know what you're signing up for. You know how law firms are. You know that at the end of the day, the client deliverables are most important. It's not a managing partner who's going to hound you. It's your client who's going to hound you. So even if you're able to manage it better. So for example, I would take those breaks, but I still finish my deliverables. Uh, Even if there was an all-nighter which was sort of encouraged or probably was proposed, I would be okay with that, even if I had plans. But what I would do instead of sitting in the office, I would actually venture out for 1.5 hours or two and meet my friends or family for dinner, and then come back to the office and work. So I was absolutely fine with that arrangement. Only if I didn't really want to move on to the business side of law, I think I would have just been super happy there. And when I put in my papers, I think every single person who I knew at the firm was super surprised. They were like, "You were just a super happy kid at Amarchand, and we're not sure why you're quitting because you were just having a great time here. Your partner loved you. You were having a great camaraderie with everyone. So what went wrong?" And I told them it's not something to do with the firm. It's not to do something with the practice area, but it's something that I want to pursue separately. So that's when my partner, who's a very sweet person, Shailaja, she mentioned that Rishabh, just go into the into business of people, like something like event management. You'll do really well. Obviously, I had decided around that time what I wanted to do, but I was just figuring out when's the right time to tell people. So when Vahura happened, I was like super happy and I was telling everyone that, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and was just painting a picture which is really, really true. So yeah, that's how my experience at Amarchand was.
Fantastic. And I'm just very, very curious to know. There's always this debate about working styles and working cultures that are so different in Delhi and Bombay. And considering that you worked in both the places, I really want to know what are your thoughts about the two places. Also, which one do you prefer,
Of
considering you
people in
worked in
Bombay are
both?
going to hate me for that. And Shreya, I
I
can
want
see
to
that
get
in
you
your
in
eyes
trouble.
already. So, frankly speaking, I think both the cities have a different culture. Um, Bombay, to that extent, is very, very professional, which I think is great to a great extent. Uh, Delhi partners sort of tend to have that personal touch, which some people may like, some may not. I really enjoyed it. So, for me, being a Punjabi, I really need to speak to people all the time. I need to gel with them on a personal basis. So I really enjoy the Delhi culture. Bombay, I used to imagine that um, people probably wouldn't really gel well or they don't really meet after office hours. I was surprised genuinely when I really started seeing the house party culture in Bombay, and that's super strong as well. So it will be wrong on my part to say that something is right, something is wrong. Personally, for me, yeah, Delhi rocks, just like how Niharika is mentioning that. So
Thank you for sharing that. So I'm just intrigued, like you mentioned before, you also completed your MBA. Just curious, why did you choose to do MBA after law? Was that there was an intentional thought behind
yeah,
it? Like
so
why?
I think since my school days, I was very fascinated with the entire thing around MBA. I'd seen my cousins do it. I'd seen a lot of people who've done well in life do it, and that was one of the reasons uh, why I decided to pursue the BBA LLB course at LLB Jodhpur instead of the BA LLB course. I was always fascinated with the business administration part, and I think it was just a natural decision for me to take it up. The only question that I had for myself was whether I should take it as a full-time course, whether I should go to college, or whether I can take it up as an executive course as well. And the decision for me was quite simple. I took up an executive MBA at IMT Ghaziabad, where I had to attend the weekend classes, and it was just a great experience to learn from faculty. I think law school sort of brushes you up on the soft skills part, so that was already taken care of. But a lot of other aspects like understanding what marketing is all about, the people function of the business, right? The HR function. I think MBA degree just widened my horizon massively on that front.
Fantastic. And considering that you work on the business side of law, it must have been like a stepping stone.
Yeah, and I think the push also came from Ritwik around that time. I spoke to him once, and he was like, "Yeah, you should do it." So he was actually my mentor for the project as well. So yeah, I just had a great time during my MBA too.
So take us back to the time where you were considering your decision of making a shift. How did that happen? Also, how did your family respond to your decision?
Wow. So, interestingly, and when I speak to people, they tend to make their decision after having worked at a particular firm or a particular organization that they don't want to really pursue law as a career per se. But frankly speaking, I had somewhat decided this in my fourth year, and this will come across as very random, like how. But there's a story behind it. So when my sister was in Anand and Anand, and she made me witness that move as an audience member, her very close friend had uh, a very close friend as well. So Sachin Balhan was my sister's very close friend's friend. So, and Sachin Balhan around that time had co-founded LST, Law School Tutorials, which was later acquired by Karil Launcher. Uh, and Sachin and I had a chat, and I spoke to him about why law school, why law, and what's the reason of thinking about it after economics. And he was like, Rishabh, I actually run this. Why don't you come and see how those classes are? And ho- he's just a legend in the field that he's in. And when I attended those classes, I was like, wow, I was like super impressed. And frankly speaking, I get impressed by very, very few people. Not in a bad way, but I really, really look up to him as a great person. And Sachin just brought that entire thing into my head, right? That there's someone who went to a top law school. There is someone who graduated with a great score. There is someone who worked at the biggest firm of the country and then decided to make a shift onto the business side of law. And he wasn't really doing a lot of other things, but he was just focused on one area, which was education on that time. And that's when I started following his journey. And then he left LST. He started Rainmaker along with Bhavin, Nikhil, and Ritvik, of course. And I followed their journey. I was like, if these guys are doing it, let me see what's there in it. So there was a Mutopia page that they used to have, which is similar to what MPL is at Legally India now. And I used to follow that page quite regularly because of my interest in mooting around that time. And when Vahura spun out of Rainmaker, I got like really interested. So obviously, during my fourth year, I decided that I'll move on to the business side of law. But I had also something in my mind that all of them have sort of had some experience at a law firm or a corporate house. So in my head, I always had that intention of joining a top firm or a reputable firm for at least a couple of years and then making that transition. So as soon as I finished my 2 years in the profession, I made a call. Actually, I wrote an email to Ritvik and we caught up. The meeting was supposed to last for half an hour, but we spent talking to each other for like 2 hours, and then finally I was on board. And my family reaction. I think
Oh,
that's
yes.
more important, right? My father is a litigation lawyer. My sister was in a corporate role. My brother-in-law was just transitioning from litigation to an in-house role. My other sister was working with RKN and then was transitioning into another role. So in their head, everyone's like, "What's happening? You're working at the best firm of the country, and you've gone to one of the prestigious law schools. Why do you want to do this? And that to a startup, that to an HR." So I think A, it's not HR. It's not HR. Like let's just come into it. It's not HR, and that's what I would rather tell people as well. What we do as professionals is not HR. So obviously, it was very, very difficult for my father to fathom that fact, especially because he has a chamber. And he expected me to take that chamber forward at some point in time. Although from day one, I was very sure that even if I had to pursue law as a profession, I would not take up litigation because it's just a different ballgame. And in fact, till now, whenever I go to my hometown, I go to the courts in Ambala, I sit in his chamber, I go to Chandigarh, I go to Shimla, wherever he has certain arguments to have. So he feels very proud that I'm doing something which is not really related to law now. But I think initially he definitely had those reservations. But now he sees how happy I am in my space and how I've probably made some difference to whatever I've done so far. So he likes the fact. And being a Punjabi dad, you know how they are at some point in time, right? They, even if they were to speak to other people, they would not really talk about my role. They'll multiply my role by like 10 times and talk about that. So he's really proud of it, and I like it now.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. Um, so, tell us what all roles did you undertake during your stint at Vahura, and also what have been your professional takeaways from that experience?
Yeah, so A,
And we have
Bahura is just a fantastic. Oh, Ritik just joined us as well. Wow. So Bahura is a fantastic place, and whenever people ask me this question, I'm like, it's not one of the best places. It is the best place to begin your career, or probably even retire from if you're really, really interested in the people and the business side of law. The kind of exposure you have there is just amazing because there are people not just from law school. There are people from different walks of life. They've pursued HR, they've pursued commerce. Some people did their masters later on, even after joining Bahura. So initially, I always had that thing, oh, they're not from law school. Obviously, not by the time I joined Bahura, but before that, that if someone's not really from the law school, he's not that smart. But when I joined Bahura, I realized that everyone brings in so much on the table. And irrespective of where they are from, what's more important is how they are creating value. And that's what Vahura was all about. There's not even a single person who's not created value in that organization. And that's the reason why Vahura is still such a big name in the market. There have been players who've come in, who've gone out, but no one's been able to replace that. And that speaks volumes about the people themselves, not just the leadership, but everyone involved. And Vahura as a place gave me like three things to really, really think about around that time. One was teamwork. Irrespective of which team were you part of, you would still be allowed, or even if you want to take a project, you were happy to take it up as long as you were passionate about it. So thanks to all of that, I was part of every single team which probably used to work on assignments. So from recruitment to practice acquisitions to mentorship to consulting, um, to onboard. I was part of every single team, and even the other teams like business development, I was part of that group. Offsite group, I was part of that group. Legal team, I was part of that group. So I was super, super happy because I was doing everything that I wanted to do that in that organization. Obviously, there were times where if I wasn't probably part of a project, I would feel a bit like, why? But that's when I realized you can't be everywhere. And that's also important for people to realize. You may be as passionate as possible, you may be really hardworking, but you really need to also understand that there are other things that you have to focus on as well. And I personally, I think I did reasonably well at Vahura. I was able to excel, if I may use. Rhetoric is there. I don't know if you'll agree with that, but I was super happy with my stint at Vahura. And I was super thrilled to work with such amazing people from that time. And the takeaway was also that people may just come in from different spheres, but the value that they'll create together is always going to remain special. And that's what I've always taken forward with me. That it's always about teamwork. It's not a one-person game. You need to involve as many people as possible to ensure that there's a common goal that you're about to reach or you want to reach.
Thank you for sharing that. In fact, there are these certain values that kind of reflect about Vahura. When I speak to somebody who's worked at Vahura,
Yeah.
things that you spoke about, leadership, teamwork. You can't be everywhere. Things like that. There's such common values that I've heard so often from Neha, Tanisha, Neharik, and I feel like uh, Vahura kind of gave you an environment, and you were like babies.
Yeah,
There all
absolutely.
and then you moved your own ways, and such brilliant testimonials from the people who worked there in the past.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I joined as typically a 2-year-old professional, right? Just with 2 years of experience. But by the time I came out of the organization, I was super confident in my approach. I knew the market to the extent I wanted to. Obviously, every day is a new day, so you would take it up as a new experience altogether. But I was very happy with the progress I made there, and that journey would always remain special for me.
Fantastic. Okay, so post Vahura, you moved. You decided to assist Aquis Search, and you assisted them with setting up their operations in India. So two questions around that: A,
Okay.
why did you move out? And B, what exposure did you receive? With Aquis Search.
Wow. So obviously I speak great things about Bahura all the time, and then that's when people ask me like, if you were super happy at Bahura, why did you move out? A, it was a professional decision. I wanted to venture out and see what's happening. B, you know how it is when you are in grade 11th and 12th and you are at home with your parents. You're always in that comfortable zone. You know that things can be managed. And that's what Bahura has been for me. It's been home, right? So I was in a very comfortable zone. I was liking what I was doing, but I wanted to move to college. I really wanted to see what was it all about when I would be on my own managing things. So that was the reason why Aquis happened. And it was a pure professional decision. Nothing against the organization. I keep on mentioning that to people. I've heard some people also sort of put in words in my mouth that Vahura is like that, Vahura is like that. I'm like, guys, you don't know what Vahura is all about. It's like a special place for everyone who's worked there and who are working there. And Actvis was amazing as well. I got to move in with my team, and then we grew it into a 50-member organization across practice areas. And I was designated as head of India practice. During the first year itself, across global offices, I won the Best Team Manager award. So that was special as well because it actually sort of strengthened my view that I can do certain things on my own as well, and I can do something which is going to create value as well. So I was quite happy with my stint at Aquis. One thing which I really remember about Aquis was the kind of exposure I got in Singapore and Hong Kong markets. Um, I went there for BD travel, and the kind of meetings I did and the number of meetings I did was just amazing. You're super used to Delhi meetings and Bombay meetings that you finish 3 meetings in a day and super exhausting, right? Because you have to travel from one part of the city to the other part of the city. But in Singapore and Hong Kong, you can actually do like 10 meetings a day. And I was doing those, and I used to get back to the hotel, and I used to feel super happy that I've actually achieved so much. So I'd gone for a trip for like 7 days to Singapore just for pure BD, and I met with close to around 50 to 60 odd general councils, regional councils. So that was super special. And I think that if India was like that, we would have done more meetings. But on a serious note, those meetings were really, really special because with some of them, I'm still in touch. With some of them, they still ask about what's happening with the India market. So it was a really good journey with Aquis as well.
Great. And you now work in the law firm management space and you work as a joint partner in LNS. It'll be great if you could talk about what law firm management means and what does your scope of work entail as a joint partner?
Yeah, so in simple words, law firm management encompasses everything needed to manage the business side of a law firm, right? So anything to do with branding, with the markets function, client relations, key account management, uh, partnership hires, partnership compensation structuring, their partnership structuring per se, law firm vendor management as to your third party procedures and vendors. You sort of take care of all of that. Now, the intention of a law firm, why they have someone like us come in, is because they really want to build up their revenue. They want to increase their revenue. So how does that happen? That happens with their existing clients, existing businesses, new business from existing clients, new clients, referrals, and obviously new hires and new practices if they want to hire. They want to get in. So at LKS, I focus on everything around all these facets, including the markets function, business development function. I focus on all their international law firm networks, along with key law firm alliance, key law firm relationships. And apart from that, obviously, with some of the key corporate clients, I manage the account internally. And one thing which I would really want to highlight, this function is not really a function of one person. It's again a team sport. So till the time you have buy-in of other partners, other members of the team, you won't be able to succeed. So the first thing that you really need to make people understand is why is this important? What will this fetch? And you have to be adaptable in your approach. So you can't be very stringent. If something's not working, move on to something else. If something is working, great, move on with it. So I think that's how I'd probably see it. And as part of the managing partner's office, I've done some incredible projects, have met amazing people, have learned amazingly well from the leadership of the firm, and that's how things are as of now.
Fantastic. My last question to you, Rishabh, is do you have any advice for law students who may not be sure about pursuing the practice of law?
So I'm not going to be a management guru. I'm not a legal guru. I don't want to be a guru whatsoever. So I'm not going to talk about be disciplined, be sincere. You've heard it all. But what I'm going to talk about is if you really want to do something which is not related to the practice of law, before deciding it, talk to people, read about it, be informed, read about what's happening not just in India, internationally as well. The reason I got in was because I started reading about these things while I was in law school, not just from an India perspective, but also from an international perspective. So I was already following MLA, Lawrence Simmons. I was following what some other consulting firms like Edge were doing. So read about those things. And even if it's not related to what we're talking about, the business side or the people side of law, it could be anything. Just read about it, be informed, and definitely talk to people. I've actually seen a lot of people who made a transition into the space that we are in and moved out to join a corporate house later or a litigation firm later because it wasn't a cup of tea. So think about it, realize it's not a cushy job. So if you're just coming for hey, it's going to be a happy job, it's going to be a cushy job, it's not. There's a lot which goes on. Even if we portray ourselves as happy lawyers, there are times when we are super stressed as well about things. So ensure that you take a conscious call that this is what you want to do. And having said that, even if you take it up, it's not like you can't move back to anything else. Law as a degree just opens up so much for you that you can do a lot of things with it. So, for law students, if you want to explore this side, just take it up and just read about it, be informed. That's about it.
How beautifully said, and thank you so much for being so authentic on this particular advice. And for if there are law students who want to know more about the field, please reach out to Rishabh on LinkedIn, and I'm sure he'll be more than happy to talk to you
Absolutely.
about this field.
Absolutely. More than happy about that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rishabh. Before we end this chat today, in fact, I have a quick announcement to make for you and for everyone who's joined us today and will be watching the recording. The Grey Matter is very excited to announce our first ever TGM colloquy. It's a 3-day workshop happening on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of September, each day dedicated to one topic, and we're catering to 3 very relevant topics at this day and age, which is power of LinkedIn, content marketing for lawyers, and the ABC of legal tech. You would already know, there's so much being spoken about these topics, and it's about time we embrace the relevance around these subject matters. Extremely grateful to have experienced set of panelists joining us who will be leading these workshops. So if you're somebody who has interest or wants to learn more about these topics, please do pre-register with us. Our registration link is in the TGM handle bio, and if you don't follow us on LinkedIn already, highly recommend you to do that right away. Reason being, we're sharing a lot of information about these topics, about what we'll be covering, and about our experts, and I'm certain you don't want to miss that. In fact, Rishabh, we have you on live with us. It'll be great if you could share your views about these 3 subjects, considering they're very relevant to the business of law firms.
Oh, absolutely. And I think all law firms and lawyers are moving to a direction where they want to look at these services and service offerings. So I was actually seeing your post earlier during the day, and I was like, this is what a lot of people are actually looking forward to. And just at the right time, you're going to have the right kind of people coming in and the panelists coming in. So super excited to hear all of them and super excited for you guys as well.
Thank you so much. So you heard it from the expert right here. Please go check out, pre-register your interest. Reason being, it's going to be a close-knit event with only those attendees who are actually interested in learning more. And there are limited slots, and they're extremely first-come, first basis. So yeah, I hope I get to see you over the weekend where we have fun, we upskill and reskill. And on that note, thank you so much, Rishabh, for joining us today on a Friday evening. We had a fantastic session with you, and
Absolutely.
we wish
Had
you
a
all the
great
very
time.
best.
Thanks,
And
Atansha. It was a pleasure.
we hope you have a great weekend. And
You
so
too.
does everyone.
Thanks, Atan. Thanks, everyone.
See you.
Goodbye.